Hey everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome to today's episode. We're here in our studio today, so pretty exciting, and the podcast is going great. We're really pumped to actually have a guest returning back on the show today. I have Luca here from Aesthetic Tile and Stone and the Tile Shop. A multiple faceted business owner now. Luca, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mark. Thank you.
Awesome, mate. Tell me, how have things been? We recorded the last episode back March of 2023. Mm-hmm. What's been happening in your life since then?
Lots. Wins, challenges, meltdowns, highs, lows, pretty much everything you can throw at it. So, no, it's been a really interesting journey over the last 12 months, kind of personally and professionally. And I think there's been a lot of learnings as to kind of where we're going next as a group of companies now, and where I'm going next is, I guess, as an individual in my level of leadership and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting space that we're going into now.
That's awesome, mate. Really good to hear. I mean, if you had to pick, and you mentioned meltdowns, and I'm going to go there, right? Because meltdowns are good because we learn from our mistakes, right? And I think we spoke passionately about this in the last recording. What sort of meltdowns? Give us an example. What did you learn from in the last 12 months?
Oh, I think it's, from where we were at, I think 12 months ago, we just launched the tile supply and we opened up our showroom in Mollendina. So we had a factory there and we used the factory floor and opened up our shop. And then very, very quickly, actually, after the podcast last year in March, in April, we signed a lease for a commercial premises on a big, busy main road on Bundall Road. So that kind of shifted our trajectory a little bit, and it brought a kind of a 3-year plan for the tile supply into a kind of a 12-month plan. So we really had to quickly put our big boy pants on and develop these systems and all that kind of stuff that we had to do, and obviously deal with the challenges that came with it as well. Because as a group of companies now, we doubled our revenue almost overnight, and that came with a lot of challenges. We were struggling on the delivery side, the admin side, the development side, myself personally with like the leadership side and the management side, and having to level up as an individual really, really, really quickly, and also when you have no choice it's another beast altogether. Yeah. And it's something that I honestly didn't expect, but I guess more so embracing that and going, okay, well, this is like the next level of where we're going. So, I mean, the meltdowns probably just would have been personally, just going, what have I done? but like trying to learn from everything, I guess, because every single thing has a lesson, right? That comes with it. And it's all about being humble and going, okay, what can I take away from this, and what is this challenge trying to teach me now, and how can I learn from it? And always asking the question, what can I do, differently, moving forward. So it's been an interesting 12 months. Yeah,
mate, that's fantastic, and great share, right? We cover this quite a bit I think I've shared it with you before that I'm now a member of the SCS group up in Queensland in Brisbane, and we've just started up a new group for regional searchers, and we're all in training mode at the moment. So and on Monday night we're at our second training session for the year, and this particular special group is all about doing remote searches out in national parks and things like that. So it's a select group of people. And whenever we do a debrief at the end of every session, we talk about, the wins, the losses, what could we have done better, what did we learn, what did we set out to achieve, and we always talk about we learn from the things where we don't do things well. So when we fail, not a good word, don't like it, but when we make mistakes, they're the times when we actually learn. When we're successful, it's a great journey and it's happening really well, but you're not really learning much because it's just sort of there, and it's sort of a byproduct of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's when you hit a brick wall or when you fall over, you go, oh, there's a learning here, and I can use that for next time.
Yeah. Well, we're motivated by pain. That's why we move, and a lot of the times the only reason why we make changes in our life is because we're in a spot of pain and we need to move towards a spot of pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard for us as individuals. I mean, we're cavemen, right? We're survival instinct. So we're not motivated by pleasure. We're not trying to sit there and go, okay, well, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to achieve all these great things. It's more so getting up in the morning and go, okay, well, I've got all these issues I need to resolve. And then so being motivated by pain, it's trying to shift that perspective into being motivated by pleasure. So wrapping your head around that concept is really, really hard, because naturally it's like, where are the faults in the business at the moment?
Yep.
Because I need to fix these faults. But then when you think, okay, in 6 months down the track, what faults could I have in the business in 6 months? How can I work on those faults now, and developing systems and processes to mitigate those risks now, rather than doing it once I hit the pain point? And that's the difference between being motivated by pain and I guess motivated by pleasure. But I'm super guilty of it. I'm still driven by pain every single day. Like, I'm not an advocate of this, but it's something that I try to practice, because it does help to go, okay, well, what does 6 months look like if we keep doing what we're doing now? Where will I be in 6 months? Where will I be in 12 months or 2 years or 10 years or, that type of thing? And that goes with anything. That goes with your personal life. It goes bad habits, good habits. If I keep doing this habit, where am I going to be in 10 years or 20 years if I keep operating at this level? And I think that we need to start thinking like, that far ahead, because we're so quick to get quick dopamine fixes and all that type of thing. And it's like being motivated by pain.
Yes.
But,
exactly,
looking long term and going, what does it look like for me in 10 years' time, and that type of thing.
Yeah. Terrific.
Yeah.
Well, look, mate, we've deep dived into the conversation, which I think's awesome, right? But let's claw it back a little bit, because I want to start back at the beginning. I know that we talked about this in the last episode, but give the community a bit of a look in on where your tiling journey started and how you got into tiling. Let's go there.
Yeah. So I went to private school, was not an academic, and graduated, had no clue what I wanted to do. At the time, I was living in an environment that had a tiler in the house, and he basically said, "You are not living here unless you go to work." And I just come back from schoolies, and I was like, "Fucking great! I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to have a beer and chill out." And 17 years old, and I'm having my Christmas holidays now. And he goes, "Yeah, no Christmas holidays. Like, you are going to work." So it was like the 10th of December or something like that. And he gave me a set of boots and goes, "All right, you're coming to work tomorrow." We went to a commercial job in Brisbane, and got thrown into the trade like a lot of tilers have. They get kind of thrown into it, and then from then on, it was I was super motivated in my apprenticeship. I really, really wanted to be a tiler, so I did everything I can to kind of step up in my apprenticeship, but I also made the mistakes that a lot of apprentices make too, and having days off and this and that when you're not supposed to. But for the most part, I was really motivated to get my qualification, and I was going to get my qualification and leave the industry and just go, that's it. And I actually did that. I left the industry for 6 months and I got a job as a stockbroker. I got my RG146, they call it, and it's your brokerage license.
Wow.
And that lasted all of 6 months, and I jumped back into tiling, and something always keeps pulling me back in. I've tried to get out of it that many times, but it always pulls me back in. No, but that's, it started from there, and I was kind of 22, and I was like, all right, well, I'll start doing some cashies, and Aesthetic was born then. We went through the whole journey of, working as a one-man band for a long time, and I tried hiring staff in 2014, 2015, and then not knowing how to manage staff, losing them all. And it was only as recently as 2018 that I was on the tools by myself doing everything on my own. So mixing glue, grouting, quoting, driving around, doing, a couple of defects if they are here and there, and, managing clients and all that type of thing. And then I had a big job fall on my lap, and I was like, it was a massive house.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned this in the last podcast, but it was like a $7 million build. And the builder approached me, and I'm super, super grateful for this opportunity still to date, because it's really what set me on the path to where I am now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that fake it till you make it type mentality. And he just goes like, do you want this job? And I was like, yeah, all right. And I was like, I didn't even know how the hell I was going to execute this thing. It had like 10 bathrooms, a basement car park. Like it was massive, massive house. To build it now, it'd probably cost you like 14, 15 million, because of the prices. But yeah, look, I dived into that. I found a crew, and that's when I developed, started developing a team and all of that. So went through the stages, learned how to hire and manage supervisors and all that type of thing, and went through those sides of the business, I guess.
Yeah.
Got a business coach on board, which has been very, very fundamental for the growth, and made a shitload of mistakes, cried, didn't sleep, went through massive anxiety issues personally, mental health issues, and all those types of things, which we might dive into in this podcast. And
yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so just pretty much everything, they throw everything at the kitchen sink kind of thing, and just ended up staying strong and staying in it and having like a higher vision. But then eventually I knew that I was going to eventually just build something bigger than me.
Yep.
Because it was still me managing kind of 12 to 15 tilers on my own. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of it. I was like, where does it go from here? But then I was talking to one of my colleagues about starting up a tile shop, and we were supplying tiles. And at that stage, we'd just finished Q1 refurbishment where we retiled all the common areas and pool areas of the Q1 resort and spa. And we supplied the tiles for that. And we'd been supplying some tiles within our installation contracts. And I said, you know what, I'll just start open up a tile shop. And my colleague Jenny, she said, no, like wait. And she's always great at pulling me back into the realistic side of things. And then I waited a year, and then we finally agreed, let's pull the trigger and get this done. So, and that's when we decided to run like a hybrid aesthetic tile and stone, really still focus on aesthetic tile and stone and building that business out, especially from like a structure perspective, which is we've really been focusing on the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But, building the tile supply as well and having that as like a complementary to both services, I guess. And that's where we've come up to where we are today.
Yeah, interesting. Like it's a very, I find it a very unique story. Starting, probably not the tiling part of it. I think you're right. I think a lot of people get sort of thrown into it. And it either sticks or it doesn't stick, right? And it's stuck with you, and which is awesome. But it's not very often you see someone with such an entrepreneurial mindset wanting to go, look, I think the next step is to open up a design studio. So talk me through what are the skill sets in that you've sort of adapted over time that's helped you take that next step? Like talk us through that.
I think it's constantly challenging your beliefs. And from a young age, I think I was 18 or 19, I got roped into a seminar that said, you could be whatever you want to be. And I was like, oh. And it changes like whole perception. And I know it's so cliche, right? But when you're an 18-year-old moldable kid, you think, okay, well, I got to go get a job and I got to work in a career and all that type of thing. Which is great too. Like there's two types of people. There's entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, I call them. And an entrepreneur is someone who builds business on their own and pushes the boundaries and all that stuff. And an intrapreneur is someone that works within an organization and scales a corporate ladder and becomes super successful as a leader and a manager and all that type of thing. And I'm not here or for one or the other. I'm very inspired by the individual that's on that kind of particular journey. And, I chose the entrepreneur journey literally from that moment when, someone said to me, in 2 years' time, where do you want to be? It was interesting. I had this guy and he was super wealthy and I was 18 and he goes to me, where do you want to be in 2 years? And I literally said to him, I want to live in the Oracle building in a sub-penthouse with an R34 GDR skyline. And I was like, and I don't know how the hell I was going to get to there in 2 years. Like I'm a first year apprentice earning $7.20 an hour. So I didn't really know how the hell I was going to get there, but just thinking and pushing that mindset and going, okay, well, I know in 2 years' time, realistically, I'm going to be a third year apprentice making $13 an hour, but there's no way in hell I'm going to have this, what I said I'm going to have, but at least I'm challenging and opening up that side of my brain.
Yep.
And so people say is the entrepreneurial, intrapreneur life for everyone? And a lot of people say anybody can do it. I kind of agree and then I disagree at the same time, because you really need to be courageous and you need to start challenging everything that you've learned about yourself, and you need to go, okay, well, I'm doing this at the moment. Can I do this? Which is like 20 or 30 steps forward and challenging that side of your belief. And you really need to be courageous in doing that, because I say courageous is because you need to shut down a lot of your programming that you've had from when you were a child and your upbringing and everything that you've been taught at school and all that type of stuff. You need to sit there and you really need to dissect it. But then when you do that, you do get this level of empowerment and go, I know that there's something more. And there's a lot of people out there, and I felt this when I was tiling in 2017. I know specifically I had a thought where I was like, there's something more, and I don't know what it is. I had this inner gut feeling, this drive, and I was like, there's something more than me just going to work and tiling. That's for me.
Yeah.
Like anybody can go to work and tile, and if they're happy, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I needed something more for me. And so I needed to start exploring that. And that's why I started making these big, bold moves, because I needed to try to work out what was actually going to work for me in my entrepreneurial journey. And then now, to answer, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
but
yeah, absolutely.
That's what's taken me down the journey.
Yep.
And then now I've got these very, very BHAGs. I heard you say it on the podcast the other day, right? Big, hairy, audacious goals. And I heard that from someone who inspires me a little bit as well. And I really, really want these BHAGs around me. So I'm constantly pushing the boundaries, but it's also important to be present, because I disagree with hustle culture. I was all for it up until only recently.
Yeah.
And now I'm all about mental health, sleep, nutrition, training, being a good leader, being a good husband, being a good friend, setting boundaries, being really, really good with your personal and business boundaries and all that type of stuff too. So it starts to get quite complex when you make these big, bold moves, but I'm on the journey to kind of figure out what works for me still. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I'm not sure what's happened, but I'm feeling, this manifestation of synergy between you and I, because I literally had the same train of thought last year. Getting off that hustle culture train, it's a big step to move away from it, but certainly there's a lot to be said to just focusing in on some real core stuff. And like you've just mentioned, family, mental health, friends, setting yourself up for success every year. You might just choose one or two massive big goals to go after, rather than trying to do 50 things in 12 months and you get 30 things completed. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's one of those, it doesn't work for me. And it's just one of those things that I found I had to make a shift and do a change. And 2024 so far turns out that's the year.
That's the year to do it.
And we'll talk about that off camera.
Yeah, all good.
But yeah, so yeah, look, that's great. I mean, I want to know more about the transition from, tiling contractor, setting up a really successful business, which is still operating, of course, by the way, too, into tile shop, tile retail, design centre owner. What is that? How do you do that? How do you take that step? Like, talk us through that.
That step has been really, really challenging.
Yeah.
Like, if I was to be honest, dealing with like mental health issues and ADHD and all that type of stuff makes you hyper focus on one thing. And then so trying to spread yourself without losing focus has been probably one of the biggest challenges that I'm currently working on. And I guess I'm a proud person, and that can work against you at times. And then so I used to say, like, I'm the operator of a very, very successful installation tile business, right?
Yeah.
And then, but that's my one baby. And now I'm trying to develop a second baby, but now they're not babies. They're kind of adults, and I'm working with them. And to compartmentalize that has been really, really tough for me, because I've always wanted to focus on one thing or another thing or another thing. But I'm trying to integrate them now, where they were I was thinking of them as two separate entities, but now I'm trying to integrate how I operate on a day-to-day basis mentally with them, where I'm not trying to focus on one or the other, but I'm trying to integrate both together. And that's been, I'm a bit lost for words, but it has been a really tough journey, because I'm still learning about that side of it. And I thought initially that I'd start a tile shop and people will just walk through the door and buy tiles. And whilst we've been insanely successful in our first 12 months, it's still not how to operate a business. And then so that's what's been really challenging over the last 12 months for me, is learning how to operate. I almost have to double my leadership overnight, because I've got a certain level of leadership that I operate in with aesthetic tile and stone, but I've had to double my leadership in a very, very short amount of time, especially because the tile supply exploded so quickly. Yeah. And then so when you've got anxiety and ADHD and you're trying to be a great leader and you're trying to be a great husband and you're trying to do all these things, You know, I'm not saying you're successful in any of those areas, but you're just trying at least. You know, trying to integrate both of them and then level yourself up very, very fast in like personally has been definitely my biggest challenge. But now I've got tools where I'm starting to learn how to do that more effectively. I'm definitely leaning into my authenticity and my personality, which naturally comes with being able to develop rapport and speak with people and all that type of thing. But I'm also a control freak, and I need to see things in front of me. I need to see data. I need to see production. I love individuals that are self-motivated in my organization. So I'm very big on hiring high-level people, and we've got some amazing people in our organization, like I would say borderline best in the country.
Yep.
But that's because I love highly successful individuals that are proud of what they do, but are also very, very self-motivated. But having that, also hiring high-level people means that I need to develop into a high-level leader very, 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 very quickly. And then so that's my next level of development that I'm going through at the moment to basically take these businesses through the stratosphere. But also not starting like a tile shop, not losing focus on the installation side as well, because very, very quickly someone can go, oh, I'll do that, I'll start that, but then leave the other bits and pieces behind. Whereas I've still been very, very focused in the core side of it, which has been aesthetic tile and stone, but then making sure that both teams have what they need from me to be able to develop and grow into these big visions that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me, how important is it to have the right people around you when you're doing what you're doing?
Oh, yeah, it's like, if I was to like reflect and go, okay, well, what if I didn't? If I didn't have the right people around me, where would I be? And I would literally just be a one-man band. Because look at the other side of that question is, if you don't have the right people, well, I'm just going to have to do everything myself. And I'm going to have to control every single aspect of the process because I don't have the right people and I don't trust the people that are around me. And I think that one of the biggest motivations in the scalability of growing is because I trust the people around me. And that also means that they are the right people, right? Because then I can stick my head in the clouds and I can start thinking about all these BHAGs, all these big goals that I have. And I can go, I know that I'm going to push for these things because I've got a team that I trust, that are solid. They want to develop, they want to improve. Because no doubt when you grow business and you change and you grow, the individuals have to be willing to change and grow as well.
Absolutely.
Because if they're not, they're just going to get left behind. And I mean, my goal is to always make sure that my team is willing to grow as well. So the right people are people that you trust, obviously that do their jobs, that they get paid their salary for and all that type of thing, that's great. But also the individual that's on board with the vision of where we want to go as an organisation, because you start pushing boundaries and the boundaries get really, really uncomfortable and they get super challenging, and not for me, for everybody. Because high level individuals, they come on board with like 10 years of experience in a certain thing.
Yep.
And then you go, by the way, I'm just going to change everything that you know about the industry in a matter of 12 months. How do you feel about that? They'd almost tell you to jam it.
Yep. Yeah, well,
right?
In the industry we're in, yes.
Right? They'll tell you to jam it.
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you to go. But to be able to employ the right people, one thing, to be able to employ the right people who are open-minded for change is a completely different ballgame altogether. So I guess my goal is to attract the right people into the organisations, but attract the people that also want to develop and grow as we want to. And also to be able to do that, you have to be accountable. And accountability is such a massive thing in the industry. And you've got to sit down and go, these are all the things that I'm doing at the moment that aren't serving me to reach our big goals. They're not there. So what do I need to be accountable for now that's going to benefit us in the growth that we want to go to, for the next stage and all that type of thing. So there's a few things there, but I think that, having the right people is I would never be where we are today in our group of companies without the people that we have. It's absolutely super important.
Recruitment's a big word, right? Particularly when you're doing what you're doing. How do you go about, like, what are your tricks for identifying, really good people and bringing them into the organisation? And before you answer that question, I imagine that I'm envisioning myself now having a job interview with you today, and I can imagine how passionate you must explain that to people when you're actually sitting them down about, this is my mission, this is the vision, this is what it looks like. So how does it work? Like, how do you find the right people to bring in?
Oh, it could be as simple as a click. Like, we'll sit down and we'll interview 4 people. We'll have 100 applications. We'll phone interview 10 and we'll face-to-face interview 4, for example.
Yep.
And it's like, there's so many clinical, technical aspects of running a business, but then there are times that you just really need to lean on how you feel and your gut. And one resume might look great on paper, but it might not fit right when you're speaking to the person face to face. And I understand people might be nervous and all that type of thing too. Like, I get it. But the reason why we have the culture that we have in our organisation is because we've been very diligent in our recruitment process, and we've made sure that we've brought people on board that have that culture. They have the ability to improve the culture and have that personality that we're all going to click together. We have people in our organisation that are introverts, extroverts, that are emotional, mental health, that are like all these, like, it's not saying that we need that person that's bubbly and that's happy and that's smiling and all that type of stuff. That's not kind of where I'm going. I'm also going around the fact that it's like, how can we be vulnerable? Like, who can you be vulnerable with? Can you be vulnerable with this person? Can you have a chat? Can you open up? Can we build personality? Can we build a relationship? Can we build culture?
Yep.
Because culture is really, really big for us. So when we interview people, we do so to the point where we will percentage-wise look at resume, look at technicality, look at all those types of things, but also look at who do we click with and who's going to be a good fit in our organisation and who's going to teach us stuff. Yeah. Because we're not, like, I've got people in the organisation that are way better than me in so many different parts of in our space. So I want to make sure that we bring people in that are not going to hesitate to speak up and say, these are the things that we can do better. This is how the organisation can improve. And I think you need to be open to that as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely looking for a bit of constructiveness in the interview process as well.
Yep.
Where we would probably throw a question and say, we're doing this at the moment. How would you improve it? And then we might get an answer or whatever it may be. But gut feels pretty cool. Like, I don't know. I think I've got a good gut.
Yep.
And get a good gut feel, and then I'll always bounce it off someone else. So it'll always be 2 of us interviewing someone.
Yep.
And I'll say, am I over my head in thinking this, or am I on the right track? And then you'll have someone else backing you up, going, no, you're on the right track because I feel the same. Yeah. So that's kind of how we go about the recruitment process.
Yeah, awesome. It's recruiting people and finding the right people. I think it's a challenging space. And I think traditional recruitment methods have definitely changed a lot. And I think gut feeling, there's a lot to be said for, actually just going with your gut when you have a conversation with someone and it flows really well. They can have anything that they want written on paper, but sometimes the gut feeling is the best way to go. I learned a long time ago in leadership as well that you always hire people that are better than you because they're the ones that are going to hold you to a higher standard within your business, and it works really well. And I know a lot of really great leaders that actually follow that principle, and things like hire slow, fire fast. Make sure that you go through a really rigorous recruitment period and or process, and then if it doesn't work out, call it early. Yeah, don't hang on to someone that for 3, 6, 9 months hoping they're going to change, because people don't. Yeah. Not everyone does. I shouldn't say not everybody, but a lot of people won't change. That's who they are.
But even in the tiling space, in the tile installation space, I think I'm very, very passionate about one-man bands because it's where I was and it's where I challenged myself to get out of it. And when I was a one-man band and working on my own, no one could do it better than me. And I was the only person that could do the best job at this. But it was only when I started to challenge my own beliefs with that and going, there are people out there that can do these certain things better than what I can. And that's what allowed me to open up my brain to scale and then eventually get off the tools, obviously. But but I think that like that initial question will allow someone to go, how do I build something that's bigger than me? But how can I do it by being humble and hiring people that are better than me that I can let go while still manage at the same time? Because as a leader, you always have to manage the team around you, but learning that other people are better than you and humbling yourself and going, okay, cool, great. So what does that look like? How can I grow a business based on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nice. Awesome. Well, look, I want to deep dive into more of the store because I think I may have mentioned to you before, I cut my teeth in the tiling industry back in the early 2000s, and I worked as assistant manager and full-time in retail tiles. That's where I sort of learned a lot about, tiles, porcelain, ceramic, stone, installation techniques, methodologies, all that sort of stuff. The sales stuff as well was obviously very interesting. I want to know more about, your business in terms of, so customer service, right, can make or break a retail organisation. And I really want to know what strategies you have implemented that have worked really well in making sure that customer service is the best it can be for you and your team. Talk us through that, and sort of things like rapport and how do all the idiosyncrasies play a part in making sure that you guys are getting the best results.
Yeah, because I've been in installation for 15 years. Opening up a tile shop is new to me. So I was in retail as a kid. So I've been working since I was 11 years old or something, and I worked at City Beach. I got a job there when I was 13 in Surface.
No way.
City Beach, yeah.
Really? I worked there as well.
Oh, did you work at City Beach?
Yeah.
You're probably my manager.
No, I worked, I was 20, 21, 22, 23, I think.
Yeah,
I worked in Queen Street, worked in I worked in what they referred to as the Three Musketeers, which was Chermside, Carindale and Indooroopilly.
Oh, okay.
They were all the B stores. And I think Patrick was the national sales manager at the time. Great guy.
Right.
Great guy. Yeah, but I think there's a generation between you and I.
Yeah. That's a funny story. Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah, I got a job there. I went to buy a skateboard.
Oh, really?
and there was a little chip on the edge of the skateboard. And I said, oh, can you give me a $10 discount? And they looked at me, they were like, do you want a job? And I was like, I'm not even legally allowed to work. And they ended up giving me a job. I don't know how. But I worked at City Beach until I was probably 15, and then I got transferred to Billabong. And I worked at Billabong at Packers until I was probably 16, and then worked at Coles, and then I went into tiling. But yes, I was in retail in my teenage years, and that kind of taught me a little bit of customer service and all that type of stuff. And then my family was in restaurants for 30 years, so I was always around a lot of people. But I feel that we've got good customer service in the tile shop, but it's not from me. Yeah. Because I've kind of played a part in staying out of the day-to-day, because I've been hiring a team to execute, and help us grow this thing into the stratosphere. So I didn't know what the norm was. So I kind of had to hire very high level individuals and just kind of let them go for a bit and let them kind of tell me what the standards are and kind of show me in a way of what the standards are in a trade tile retail store, I guess. But I mean, obviously you can go over the fundamentals of, saying hi to a customer when they walk in, saying bye to them when they leave, making sure they feel welcome and warm and all that type of thing. And I mean, for me, that's pretty basic. And we're doing that. Like, we're acknowledging customers and they walk through the door and making sure they feel welcome when we make them a coffee and we give them a bottle of water and all that type of thing. And for me, being in retail for so many years, I think that's normal. But then the feedback that we're getting is like, it's been the most amazing experience ever and all that type of stuff. And I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but I was actually quite surprised at the level of where the industry is. And I was like, there's a bit of a gap there. And I think that we can probably do better in servicing these customers and making the customers feel welcome, but also not being salesy, just being you. And that's what our team does. Like, our team will go like, you don't need that tile there.
Yeah.
Like use your stone benchtop instead and do that splashback, instead of buying tiles. And I think that's super important. Like now more than ever, I think we're going into a phase of genuinity. Is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
It is now. It's a word now.
Yeah. It is now.
Well, I've used that word the last couple of weeks. It's like my new thing. And I'm like, genuinity. I'm like, I hope that's a word, unless I'm going to stick it in the dictionary, right? That's my ego coming out.
That's your new book.
Yeah, genuinity. I've been trying to become the most genuine version of myself, and that's a journey in itself, and that's very, very hard. But I think that trying to be genuine with customers it goes a long way. I mean, you can be insanely genuine with a customer where you build this rapport and this trust, and they trust you so much that they don't care if they need to pay an extra $2 a square meter for a tile.
Yep.
Like they literally come because they know that, one, they're going to be greeted when they walk through the door. Their needs are going to be listened to. I think that's really important. They're going to be given advice based on their needs, and they're going to be given a product suitable for their installation or their space. But they're also going to be given an opinion based on experience that's going to be a genuine opinion. Like, for example, I want to put tiles in my bathroom, but you don't have to do it on all the walls. Just do it in the shower recess if you're going for a Hampton style, because, you might do your subways in your shower, but you might do a little subway skirting and then stick your feature vanity in there. And that's actually what makes the bathroom pop, and use coloured towels and use your towel rails and put like a little pot plant in the corner. And now you're saving money on installation and tiles, but you're getting the look that you're trying to achieve. And I think that's super important, because salesy salespeople is getting a bit old.
Yes.
It's getting really, really old. And I think people are more so developing relationships. And that's not to say that we're going to try to sell, because our job is to sell and make money, right? So we still need to do our job and we need to sell product, but we still want to make sure that it's to the customer's needs as well, and be creative in the advice that you're giving around it too.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I think the days of people being hard sold to, particularly in our industry, I can't speak on behalf of other industries, I don't work in them, but certainly it seems to be dying. A lot of people don't want to be hard sold to anymore. There's none of this, how are you going to pay for that? Cash or check or credit card or, all of those payment method terminologies. I think people are really, they're more educated, they're more informed. There's a lot more stuff online now, so they can actually learn about, tiles well and truly before they actually step foot in the store. So they've got some sort of understanding of what the experience might be like when they go in there. And I think people just want to people are very solutions focused. They'll come in there and they'll have some sort of problem that they need to fix, whether it be a complete renovation of a bathroom, or they're looking to put tiles on a external slab in an alfresco area because they've looked at concrete for 15 years and it's ugly. So yeah, I get it. I think the authenticity of that sales experience is really important, and I'm glad that you guys are really embracing that. That's really cool. I need to be very careful about what I say, because obviously I do go into a lot of tile shops around Australia and in New Zealand, and I have to say there's not many people out there doing customer service well, which is really sad, because it's the backbone of your business. It's what drives sales. It's what drives revenue, which means you can then reinvest back in the business to grow it more, or grow your people. Yeah. It's a pretty incredibly important pillar.
Yeah, and I think you choose where to put your effort into as well. And I think that when you're meeting someone face to face, it demands a certain level of just care and attention. But if we've got an online sale, we'll probably develop like a digital system where we send like a thank you email for buying from the tile supply and that type of thing. But it doesn't have as much of a personal aspect, nor does it need it, because it's someone from Perth that's buying 4 square meters of a splashback and they just want the tiles delivered to their house. But when you're dealing with someone face to face, I think it commands a certain level of relationship, and not even face to face. If you've got a relationship with someone that doesn't even walk through the shop, but is just in the industry on the Gold Coast, whether it's an interior designer or an architect, all that type of thing, you need to make sure that those relationships are taken care of.
Absolutely. Luca, running a business, mate, super challenging. Lots of challenges. I think I've mentioned that word a number of times today. Can you talk us through some of the strategies that you have as an entrepreneur, right? And we've spoken about that as well, that could potentially help people that are struggling in that space, because I imagine that there's a lot of people out there in the community that are doing similar things, and we like to learn from others. So tell us about some of those strategies. What do you do? What do you do differently?
I think it all starts with awareness of yourself and your triggers, because you can be very easily thrown around day to day based on your triggers and your emotions. And definitely not to say to put your emotions aside, is to become aware of what comes up. Because the things that come up, and if you don't understand why you're getting triggered, these things can hold you back from progression. So like, as an example, I'll probably use personal examples, are probably a bit easier to explain.
Yeah, of course.
When I was 23, my best mate passed away. I got this massive anxiety that hit me in the stomach, and I couldn't go to restaurants. I couldn't go jump in an elevator, and I was like, "What's going on?" When I was 25, it like doubled down and hit me really, really hard, and I was like, "What? Like, what is this?" I didn't even know it was anxiety, and it just hit me so hard, and I just remember losing my appetite completely and not being able to walk into a shopping centre or even a doctor's surgery to get a checkup because my claustrophobia was like through the roof. I couldn't pinpoint what it was, and 100% it was definitely holding me back from, becoming the best version of myself. And then also to kind of offset that, to numb out, to dopamine fix, to get rid of that. You'd party on the weekends and all that type of stuff. And that would be your remedy, right? Because it would calm the brain, it would settle you down. You'd have a massive hangover, so you can't really think about business or work or anything. And then you'd operate the next week and kind of do it again. And you develop these tools of management that are just completely destructive. Mm. And my wife, she's amazing. Me and Helena have been together for 10 years, and she's a psychotherapist, and she's really been the one to hold a mirror up. And if I was to say that anybody's helped shape me into the journey that I'm having at the moment, it's definitely her. And holding a mirror up is really hard. Like, it's super, super challenging, because it's basically someone telling you all of your faults and all the things that are going on with you. But it's also someone telling you, like her, she's saying, like, you've got anxiety, like, we need to sort this out. And then so the holdbacks of these types of things, and the reason why I say awareness is because you need to be able to understand the things that are happening inside of you.
Yeah.
And so I started going to see a psychologist and started to work out where this anxiety is coming from, and learning all these types of management tools, which some worked and some didn't. And, you got the point of, then you start avoiding it and you're going, oh, no, it's just anxiety. Just push it away, rather than, a new tool for me now is kind of accepting it and going, okay, well, it is what it is. It's never going to go away. How am I going to manage it? So it's been a huge process since I was kind of 25 to I'm 33 now, to try to understand how to best manage myself and be the best version of myself and be clear. And I mean, one of the tools that I had was going complete sobriety. And I did that 1.5 years ago. And I did, it was December last year that I had, one night at the end of the year. But apart from that, it's been 1.5 years of this clear mindset. Actually, when I did that in December, I had a few drinks and stuff, I documented the whole thing. And
really?
And I documented how I felt on the night, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. And it's unbelievable.
It's a powerful process.
It's unbelievable what it does when you do dive into that stuff, and what it does to your physiology, your mental space, your clarity, your anxiety, depression, all of that type of thing. And I thought it was quite interesting, because I'd been sober 1 year at that point, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to document this and see what it's like. And it's a real wake-up call, hey.
Did you, and not to interrupt too much, but did you track your finances as well on your past to the present with that?
Oh, like when I was partying like every single weekend and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Big difference?
Oh yeah. I don't want to say.
Could have bought a second house.
Yeah. You know, like it's just crazy. But like people do certain things at certain times of their life depending on where they're at and what
Yeah.
their needs are. And they have coping mechanisms because they don't know any better. Because they're like, this is the thing that calms me down, or this is the thing that gets me straight, or whatever it is, because I don't know any better. But now, for me to challenge that in the way I deal with my anxiety and mental health challenges and stress and all that type of stuff now, is sobriety is probably one of the best things ever. Not to mention what it does for your physiology. If we go deep into health and fitness and microbiomes and your gut and all that type of thing, I'm right into all that at the moment. But
Yeah, nice.
but just the clarity in your brain. And then you find different ways to not get your stress out, but just manage the stress, because it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
And I think a few things are also to remind yourself that, you know, all the challenges that you have in your life are forcing you to grow, and they're forcing you to change, and they're forcing you to become a better you. So that helps a little bit, right? Just
Yeah,
a bit
absolutely.
of positive self-talk. But I've got a sauna at home now. So, you know, I have a sauna in the afternoon, and that's amazing because you're just focusing on not dying.
Yeah.
You know, like it really does take you away from the stressful things that are happening in your life.
Absolutely.
So, you know, a sauna, I'm about to build an ice bath as well, which I think in the last podcast I mentioned I was doing a little bit, and I've figured out that an ice bath jacks up my nervous system a little bit.
Yep.
So I've wound that back a little bit, but I'm going to get it more so for the mental health aspects. I train every day.
Yep.
I lift weights 5 days a week, and then I walk on the beach the 6th and 7th day. Like I'm constantly moving. And I know that when I wake up in the morning, my brain warms up and it gets firing.
Yep.
And I love that because it warms me up for the day. But when I was tiling, it was different. I needed to train in the afternoons because it actually switched me off. So people do different things depending on where they're at in their journey. Because I work predominantly in an office now, I need to go hard in the morning and I need to wake my body and my brain up. But when I was tiling, I needed as much energy as I could in the morning. So I needed to just make sure I conserved that energy, and I tiled all day, and then I could get in the gym in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Switching off, having boundaries is massive. Like it's so underestimated. And I think this is going to come into the space a lot soon, into the personal development space, is the boundaries with family, friends, work, all that type of thing. Look, I'm available for my team 24/7. They know that. But my phone goes on do not disturb at 5 o'clock at night. And it's like, no one can get me after that point. And all my team have my wife's phone number. Yeah. And if they need anything, they can call Helena. And which rarely happens anyway. But having these boundaries allow me to stay clear in my journey, because I know that when I go to work, I'm insanely efficient. Like my efficiency is through the roof because I'm not dabbling in work at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night and then 5 o'clock in the morning. And my brain's all over the shop. I know when I'm at home, I'm at home. When I'm in the gym, I'm in the gym. When I'm at work, I'm at work. And I think that's really helped me because it gives me a bit of control.
Yep.
And it helps you with, you know, you don't have as much anxiety and that type of thing anymore because you kind of know what's coming up next. And then food, diet.
Yeah.
It's
Huge.
just, it's massive. Yeah. Massive.
Yeah, mate, you've mentioned all of the massive key pillars that are certainly a big part of managing anxiety, managing stress, managing depression. You know, I can speak of it openly because I'm someone who's suffered anxiety in the past. I've also suffered depression at least 3 times throughout, you know, my life's journey. So I certainly understand where you're coming from, but certainly all of those things are so important. So if you get anything from this episode, the community, please, you know, look after yourself. Your health is, you know, your body is your temple, right? As they say, you know, you get the health right and the rest should all fall into play if the strategy is written effectively. So.
No more pies and Red Bulls first thing in the morning. Eh?
No. Hannah said you can't do that. Well, no, Hannah didn't say that. I said you can't do that, and it was great. Yeah, Luca, we've mentioned mental health, or you've mentioned mental health, and I've mentioned mental health a few times during today's episode, and I think we've both. I know that I've experienced, depression a number of times, and I've learned a lot about, the triggers, how things operate, my mental health space, the anxiety levels, the food, looking after myself, and they're all massively important things, right? Do you think that mental health amongst tradies is widely discussed amongst people in the industry, or do you think they're not talking about it at all and just trying to get through their days? I mean, what do you see happening out there in the market?
Well, where I got inspired was by when people actually started digging deep and becoming vulnerable and actually talking about it. And whilst the awareness is increasing in the marketplace, I think there needs to be more conversations. And I think people need to have more courage to speak up. Because I think that when you speak up, you kind of get a bit inspired about other people's journeys and what they've been through and then what they've overcome. And when someone says to you, in this year I did this and that year, but this is how I overcame it and these are the tools that I use and all those types of things. I think that's what's inspiring. And people are scared. People are scared to put themselves out there. They're scared to talk about drug addictions. They're scared to talk about, depression. They're embarrassed. They don't want to look weak and all that type of thing. But I think, the strongest thing that a man can do is get vulnerable, get emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, mate. I feel you. It's a tough space to be in because the stereotypes out there, particularly in a male-dominated industry, are look tough, look brave, don't shed a tear, don't show anyone emotion, suppress all of those feelings. But it doesn't help. It doesn't do any good. And particularly one of the things that I looked at with this podcast was reaching out to the community, but also talking to the younger generations coming through in the industry, in whether they're a tiler or a plumber or a sparky, it doesn't matter, but getting the messaging out there and taking them along that journey so that they understand that it's okay to have a conversation, it's okay to have an emotion and a feeling and a thought, and you're allowed to say how you feel.
We just need to make it a norm. We need to just remove the stigma around it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so comfortable talking about my mental health and where I'm at currently and where I've been and all that type of stuff is because I've spoken about it so many times, and the more I talk about it, the more comfortable I get. And that's why I say the conversations need to be had more. Regarding the mental health space in the construction industry, it's probably one of the worst out there regarding mental health.
Yeah.
And the suicide rates, and I don't know the numbers, so I can't quote them, but I know that the suicide rates in construction in men is higher than any other industry in Australia, but by a country mile. And just need to start talking more.
Yeah.
I think that's the solution. We just need to start talking.
Yeah, well said. It's a space. Conversations can change someone's life.
And sometimes you just need someone to listen.
Yeah.
Like, not even someone to give you advice, but someone you can just lean on. Like, I'll go see a psychologist and pay $280 for a session for her to just listen to my bullshit, and I'll just leave and I'll go, I feel better. It's just someone to listen.
Yeah.
But you should be able to do that without going to see a psychologist. You should be able to do that with your mates and your family and your partner and your friends and anybody around you.
Yeah.
The value in expressing your feelings and letting things out is huge.
Yeah. Mate, I reckon we could be here all day talking about this topic, to be honest.
Yes.
But I want to try and keep my tears inside today because otherwise I won't be able to ask any more questions. So, but
both.
Yeah. Look, we'll definitely come back to that. But I think the messaging is out there. Have the conversations and don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
Listen to your mates. Give them an opportunity. Give them a platform to talk about the shit that's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
Don't belittle them. Don't put them on a pedestal and go, hey, that guy looks weird. He sounds weird. Why is he talking about that? People talk about stuff because they need to get it out.
Yeah.
Because if you bottle it up too much, other crazy stuff can happen.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want. Mate, let's talk about the future. We're getting close to the end today, but tell me about what are your future plans for the store? Actually, I should have asked this earlier. Location, where are you? Let's shameless plug. Let's get it out there.
We're on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
So Aesthetic Tile and Stone, the installation business, we service Brisbane and Gold Coast.
Nice.
And all anywhere else in around Brisbane and Gold Coast kind of thing. And then the tile supply, our store's in Bundall on the Gold Coast. But we're delivering tiles all around Australia at the moment.
Wow.
So we got a job in WA recently as well.
How did you do that?
Secrets. Can't tell you.
No, a friend of a friend.
Yeah, friend of a friend. Yeah. It's who you know. That's where we are at the moment, and the space we're going to try to play in is the national space with the supply.
Awesome. So future plans, you've got I've been into the store, it's beautiful. It's remarkable actually. It's a really nice space. I love the textures, the colours, it's very warm, it's inviting. What are your future plans? What's next?
So we're very diligent in our quarterly plays, quarterly business plays, and our yearly kind of plays that we have. And for aesthetic, at the moment, we've been through some interesting periods the last couple of years, training up of some high level project managers and starting to delegate our estimation process and all that type of stuff. So we're in a dial-in process with our installation department. It's the best it's ever been. We've got an amazing crew of tilers. Very proud of the team that we have at the moment. And this year for us is really going to be dialing in to see how well and how efficient we can get Aesthetic Tile and Stone running by the end of the year.
Yep.
And then once we get the data that it's running really, really well, we'll look at our next level of scalability plan.
Yep.
And then with the tile supply, we kind of only do 12-month goals.
Yeah.
But the tile supply, we're currently building a pretty large Shopify store.
Ooh,
so there's going to be 40,000 products online, and we're going to be launching that to the market and competing with some big players out there. And that's basically our BHAG. And that's what we're going to be dialing in. Whether store 2 or store 3 or store 4 comes in the next couple of years, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm very gut driven, and I'm an opportunist. So I'll find an opportunity and we'll discuss it to see if it's the right time or not. But as far as the things that we can control is this big 6-month Shopify process, which is just very, very, very big project that's happening in the background. So we've had a big growth with our store. We're consolidating with our store. We're not opening another store this year, but we're focusing on the online department, which is going to increase our presence in the market. But it's also then going to drive more and more people through the shop. Yeah,
and your reach online. They're amazing plans. Your reach online is unlimited, right? You can go anywhere. You can go overseas. You can go to New Zealand. You could be shipping tiles into South Korea. Who knows? Yeah. But your visibility is massive. So that's a pretty big BHAG to tackle for 2024.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Awesome, mate. Well, hey, look, thanks so much for your time today, Luca. Thoroughly enjoyed catching up with you again and hearing about everything that's going on, and sort of so excited about what you're doing in your journey. And we that's all we have time for today, mate. So look, as we always say in every show, until next time, stay connected, and mate, hope to keep following your journey and seeing all these amazing things that unfold for you guys.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.